Now, for a review of what's making the rounds and the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in, I think we'll be running the show together with Vimbai in Lagos. I think she's put something up together for us to analyze and dissect the newspaper headlines. Vimbai?
Absolutely. Benga, today we've been abandoned. We need to write a petition to our co-anchors on this platform to let them know that when they travel around the world, they need to send us tickets too.
We have Adesua sending us fantastic reports from the United Nations in New York, and also we watch Adefemi's special interview.
Tickets. Oh. Tickets, flight tickets, airplane, not reports.
Well, there are implications.
All right. Well, let's get straight into it. There better be implications. Now, let's begin with this day newspaper, as always, our newspaper of record, which is leading with politics. I don't know if we can escape politics now. It looks like things are only going to get hotter in the road to 2027. This day newspaper's headline, El-RUFAI, Tinubu planning life presidency, not genuine Democrat. Now, these were comments that were made yesterday by the former governor of Kaduna State when the former vice president Atiku Abubakar paid him a courtesy call in his home. It was said that the visit was as more of a solidarity visit, especially after the incident that had taken place at the Kaduna meeting of the ADC that was said to have been dispersed by thugs. The ADC insists that these were APC-sponsored thugs who disrupted that meeting. And of course, we know that it's one of two meetings. There was also one in Lagos State that was disrupted, and the same allegation it maintains there as well, where they say they insist that these are state-sponsored APC thugs. Nevertheless, Malam El-RUFAI said that he feels that there is serious democratic backsliding under President Tinubu. In his comments, he went as far as saying that, what happened to all that we did under Nadeko? And he says it was all fake. These are his words in this video that was released. And he says that we're well on our way to becoming Cameroon. As he says, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is, in his own estimation, he feels that he's looking to emulate Paul Biya, who has been the president of Cameroon for 43 years. And he said that if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not removed in 2027, then we're well on our way to having a sit-tight president in the person of President Tinubu. Hefty allegations, Benga. And I mean, I'm looking forward to the responses that will come out from the presidency. You know, their pen is always very hot when these types of comments are made. But nevertheless, what's your take on this, Benga? Very big story.
Well, such political rhetorics and the roadmap to a very huge political transition come 2027, which is just less than 2 years away, is quite unusual. And what could be fanning the embers is what we really don't know, but it's quite unusual for such rhetorics to come up because the political temperature and the political crystal ball had shown a transition in which the APC is like it's like running an all-winner take all affairs. So that would naturally heat up the polity. That would feel some level of insecurity. But we need to be very careful not to promote hate speech and fake news in this transition, because at the end of the day, it's the Nigerian people that is the prize that we need to protect. And so when we are making, and when such comments is coming from highly respected leaders, liking Tinubu to Paul Biya, I think there should be a bit of caution there, so that we don't just flame up the polity and make inflammatory comments that could jeopardize and undermine the political transition which is ongoing come 2027. Nigerians would like to see a fair play. Would like to see people, the voice of the people triumph in this political transition. But the ruling party also needs to be careful on how it uses its federal might, its power of incumbency. Like the probe of what happened in the disruption of the ADC conference in Kaduna now, one needs to be very careful, because the federal government, the Nigerian police has the right to protect all rallies, all political rallies, because ADC is recognized by INEC. It's a recognized political party. So we need to play a politics of decency, and we shouldn't, because if we allow this kind of rhetorics to fester, it would definitely undermine the credibility and the nation's democratic and transition integrity. So I think that caution needs to be taken in this kind of a situation. It's a they really made strong statements against the APC-led government, and the APC-led government also needs to show transparency, it needs to show political sportsmanship, that it has tolerance for the opposition. So when we look at all the situation, if we play to the rule, everybody would see that Nigeria has the capacity to spearhead a decent political transition come 2027.
Absolutely. All points are duly noted, Benga. Very well said. Because, you know, in the interest of being opposition voices are very important. Opposition voices are vital to a vibrant democracy. And the fact that Malam El-RUFAI can make these statements and he didn't sleep in a police cell also goes a long way to validate the fact that, you know, not all freedoms have been hindered. Yes, I think it's important for us to continue to highlight some of the trends that we see. For example, the erosion of checks and balances, I think, is one of the biggest issues that we've seen. And it didn't begin with this administration. It's a consistent trend that we've seen since 1999. As we continue to strive to deepen our democracy, we ask ourselves, where are the checks and balances? This is how some national assemblies have won themselves that title that they don't appreciate of being rubber stamp national assemblies. You know, when we look at the appointment of various departments, you know, that are in essence supposed to be independent, INEC, for example, there are question marks around how autonomous these organizations really have. I think this administration did something fantastic with regards to ensuring that local government autonomy was pushed through our judicial system, and the Supreme Court made a ruling. But I think it's also important to note that that is incomplete until it has been implemented. And why is that important? Because in essence, it means you're delivering the dividends of democracy to the grassroots. You're decentralizing. Because when we accuse people of being sit-tight presidents, of wanting to be live presidents and so forth, in essence, the accusation is that you're trying to centralize power around yourself. So there have been efforts to decentralize, to devolve power, but the question is, have they been enough, and have they been seen through to their final completion? Now, as for countries like Cameroon, I mean, I grew up in Zimbabwe, so I've grown up and I've lived under what many people would call a sit-tight presidency. And I can speak categorically to the fact that a lot of the liberties that we enjoy in Nigeria are liberties that are not enjoyed under these so-called sit-tight presidents, you know, under these administrations. I remember, you know, growing up, it was difficult. You couldn't mention the president's name, you know, even at home. If you needed to mention his name, you would just whisper and say, President, because you'd be scared that they'll be waiting for you outside afterwards. So I understand it's important, again, for opposition to continue to ensure that there are those checks and balances where our institutions are failing to do so. But let's also not be hyperbolic.
Just to chip in again, I think that the credibility of our transition is what's at stake. Regardless of what is being done, the world is watching. And coming from an erstwhile supporter, he was a lead, Malam El-RUFAI, the former governor of Kaduna State, was a lead supporter of the Tinubu's campaign towards the 2023 election, and at the time for the selection of a ministerial appointment, that was when they fell out. Whether it was true that he wanted a ministerial appointment or not, that remains speculative and preemptive. But be that as it may, people should be careful.
Well, Benga, he went for the screening. I don't think you'll go for the screening if you don't want it.
Well, you know, at the risk of being, at the risk of being, at the risk of not being modest, I have to put it that way. So, because the people are not stupid anyway. The people are watching. The world is watching. And talking about sit-tight African leaders, I think it was good that Nigeria's former president put that to rest over the weekend when he said, interestingly, I had a one-on-one interview with former President Olusegun Obasanjo in 2012 after he led the ECOWAS electoral observatory mission in Senegal that produced Macky Sall as the leader, and I took him up about the issue of what was widely reported as his purported third-term agenda. And he said that those accusing him of pushing a third-term agenda was very unfair and mischievous. And when you look at it, he said that out of 100 clauses in a bill, that one came with a third-term agenda. And he was not the sponsor, that it was a legislative sponsored bill. So he said neither his legislative assistant, Senator Florence Itagiwa, or the Deputy Senate President, Deputy Senator Ibrahim Mantu, could come out to say that he actually pushed for a third-term agenda. And he also said even his deputy came to him to say he heard that there was a third-term agenda going on, and he said that he should come out to produce the people who said it. But we also know the undertones and the subterfuge and the political maneuvers in the political realm, that you don't really need to come out to show your face to push some of this thing. Sometimes it's been left in the realm of political sophistry and illusion. Meanwhile, there are some forces underground that push some of this agenda. But be that as it may, I think if it was a smart move, and everything is likely to remain in the realm of speculation and being preemptive. Because he also spoke in Ghana recently when he said that if he had wanted a third-term agenda, the debt cancellation move was even tougher. And he said the third-term agenda was a child's play. That if he had wanted it, he knows how he will go about it. And there is nothing that he had wanted from God that God had not given him. Yeah. So one wonders if it's the same God that is served, because we know that it's not everything that you ask from God. So I wonder he must really be serving perhaps a different God. Venga. We don't know. But we all know that it's not everything. Venga. If I have my wish, perhaps I'll be the world's president. So that's not happening right now.
The world president, Wenga. Now we know what your prayer points are. But again, I think what he says is indicative of some of the points that we're making around deepening our institutions. Because the fact that an individual has the power at his disposal to do it, versus him exercising the restraint, says more about the political system itself and the institutions. Because it shouldn't be left to the whims of individuals, whether or not they will exercise restraint. There have to be checks and balances within the system. But let's take one more story from the front page of this day newspaper. NNPC in the newspaper again, and this time it's all about under remittance. So unreconciled federation funds. FAC awaits NNPC on $42.37 billion. The Office of the Attorney General of the Federation on $2 trillion pending payments. So this is a story of oil revenue remittances, under remittances. We know that there was a report. We've been following what's been happening with some of the proceeds that are supposed to come from subsidy savings. And at a point, it was reported that about 50% of that amount was being remitted. We're yet to really get an update as to what percentage we now currently sit at. So it was reported that there was under remittance, but I think the value involved here, $42.37 billion, is where the shocker really lies in this story. So there are also unpaid royalties, unpaid taxes, which of course are supposed to head to the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. And this is all encompassed in the FAC Post-Mortem Subcommittee report for September 2025. Now, this is quite shocking, Benga, because already we've seen some of the biggest distributions being made by FAC, biggest disbursements in history this year. So to note that, in fact, what we are seeing is not even a scratch on the surface, if I may call that, because if we're missing $40 billion and the governors are said to already be enjoying largesse, can you imagine what will happen when NNPC gets to 100% remittance with all of their dues?
Yeah, I think this culture of impunity has to be checked on time. Otherwise, the country will be sitting on a time bomb. Because if we cannot get our books right, then a lot of questions is being raised. NNPC is like the financial powerhouse of the nation, and also the Office of the Attorney General, which carries the president's power and authority. We know how influential those two offices could be. Just during the time of the former GMD NNPC, there's still a case of $7.2 billion that was missed, and he said he has done all he needs to be done. And I found that statement very pregnant and very questioning. It raises suspicion that perhaps there are some powers behind the scene. There are some forces, powerful forces behind the scene that are calling the shots. Because the way he was so confident about, and he came out to the public to say he has done what he needs to be done, the Nigerian agencies also needs to step up. So we believe that we need to probe more into many of these undertones, and it doesn't really signal a positive light for the nation. The world is watching, and this is a time when the president is clamoring, is making a campaign for economic restoration of the nation and growth. So we cannot be moving forward on one hand and be taking 10 steps backward. So I think that we need to harmonize Nigeria's fiscal framework in order to really know where we are in terms of these economic indices and growth. So be that as it may, I think the EFCC should need to step up their action, look into many of these anomalies, and not just after it has been done, also create a system. Very soon we are likely to have the DG, Bureau of Public Procurement, on the show. So we need to know why many of these finances do not find their way to the books, to the reporting points. So a lot of questions comes from this, and it's not a good sign at all. And the president also needs to interfere. He cannot be playing the ostrich at this moment.
Absolutely. Very well said on that, Benga. Let's quickly move to other newspapers today. I'll first go to, let's go to the New Telegraph. The New Telegraph is zoning in on the administration of the now former administrator of Rivers State, that's Ibok Ete Ibas. And the headline there says, Rivers, controversy over Ibas' 5 billion naira verification savings claim and last-minute appointments. This is, of course, on the backdrop of the governor who has now resumed duties, Siminalayi Fubara, who spoke in church yesterday to the people of Rivers State, saying peace is the greatest gift, hold it dearly. I'll put that aside, the front of Punch newspaper as well. I hope we're able to pull these up. So Punch newspaper is also looking at River State, and Punch is saying Ibas rejects Assembly's move to probe 6-month spending. It says that ex-administrator insists that lawmakers lack power to question tenure. CSOs urge Fubara to hold Ibas accountable. So the fallout from the 6 months of sole administration in Rivers State. On one hand, we saw the State House of Assembly members resolve that a probe into the 6-month tenure, the budget and the expenditure and accountability was necessary. Now there's a response from a special advisor to Ibas himself, who's saying that the assembly have no power whatsoever to do so because he was an appointee of the president. And to quote the special advisor said an inquiry into him is ultimately an inquiry into the president and an inquiry into the National Assembly. He says that commentary is free and everybody is free to say as they like. However, when it comes to power or locus rather to investigate the 6 months, it does not belong to the State House of Assembly. Similarly, if we look at that one from New Telegraph, which is talking about the 5 billion naira verification savings claim. If you remember when Ibas came into office, he had said that there had been ghost workers, overinflation of the wage bill and so forth. And he had said that he had identified 5 billion naira that he was able to save from a verification exercise. However, there are also some complaints from civil servants in Rivers State who are saying that they were not treated well in his administration, and also the fact that there were last-minute contracts rewarded on the eve of his departure in office. On his last day in office, he awarded some contracts and also made some last-minute appointments into sensitive positions. Benga, what do we make of all of this? And does Governor Siminalayi Fubara have the political will to even, as his message for now is a message of peace, and if he starts chasing after shadows from this past 6 months, it might land him in trouble again. A very difficult place for him to be.
Well, if you ask me, one of the fundamental tenets of democracy is transparency, accountability, and the rule of law. So it applies to every situation. But, well, I wouldn't blame him because everyone knows that the emergency rule is a clear setback. Because what emergency rule simply means is that you're suspending the entire constitution. That goes with suspending accountability, suspending transparency, and suspending the rule of law. But looking at the claims of Ibas, I think it's a bit laughable that he could say this with, it shows a flagrant disrespect for the wish of the people. You ruled a state for 6 months, and that's hugely symbolic in the life of a state. And if I get my facts right, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, about 254 billion naira was released from FAC between March 17th and September and August, and the month of August. So he needs to account for what he has done. Being an appointee of the president is not an immunity, does not immune him from rendering the account. We have been raising this issue since last week, in a countdown to the transition from Ibas to Governor Fubara. But be that as it may, it's more of a foundational matter, because it's really unfortunate that Rivers State shouldn't have been allowed to slump into an emergency rule. So, whether we like it or not, I think this is where civil society organizations, all stakeholders of the states really need to, and even the media, need to lead the front line to ensure that the former sole administrator of Rivers State, Rear Vice Admiral Ibas renders a clear and transparent account. It might not have stolen anything, but the system demands, the institution demands that he should render his account of stewardship. And that means the State Assembly is right in taking that initiative that it needs to be probed. 254 billion naira is not a joke, and that is from the Federal Account and Allocation Committee. What about the internally generated funds within Rivers State? We know that Rivers State is one of the oil-richest states in the country. So he needs to tell us where he met the state. And I think if there's nothing to hide, I think Rear Admiral Ibas should be proud of his intervention in the state, if there is nothing to hide. So, but it's just in line with the principle of democracy. He is a military man anyway. So he ought not to have been there. So that is the paradox of the situation, unfortunately. But be that as it may, is superintended over a group of people that have aspirations and that really looks forward to a clear democratic future. So he needs to explain, he needs to come out, he needs to present, he needs to open his books so people to know how he managed the fund. It's not his personal fund. Regardless of whether he's coming as a sole administrator or the president's representative, no matter how he package his title, he's superintending over a group of people. It's a state fund that he managed, and it's just in line with global standard that he needs to present his account of stewardship to the public.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's very as simple as that. And I think some of the issues also raised by CSOs and citizens of Rivers State is that they're saying one of his biggest mandates was to at least begin to reconstructing the State House Assembly that had been destroyed. And they're saying that, well, if they could at least see some progress on that, they might give him credit for that. But they're saying that apart from the State House of Assembly that was demolished, not seeing any other progress with projects anywhere near the states. And we know that the bulk of that money, Benga, that you made reference to, that the state is receiving from FAC, we know that there's 13% oil derivation coming from it. So this is, in essence, the nation's money. This is Nigeria's money. It's not the president's money or the National Assembly's money. This is the wealth of the nation that has been entrusted to him to ensure that people feel the dividends of democracy. So the statement that, oh, you know, probing me is tantamount to probing the president is highly concerning because even the president is not above being probed. Nobody is above being probed when it comes to Nigeria's
actually, you are very right.
National wealth.
It's highly disingenuous to be linking his affinity or political affiliation with the president. You know, we both watched the former governor of Rivers State, a political stakeholder in Rivers State, and the political leader. We don't know which party, we are not sure which party he is, former governor Nyesom Wike. And he also was a bit reluctant, and I was shocked. I said he would rather prefer that Rivers State moved forward. How would they move forward if an entire 6 months financial situation is swept under the cover? I don't see. I think it's the political culture of impunity in this country where we seems to sweep things under the carpet. If he doesn't have anything to hide, I think that it is just fair that he presents his account of stewardship by rendering the account of his leadership for that 6 months.
All right. Now, very quickly, I believe we have time for one more paper. Let's go to The Nation, because The Nation is focusing on the anti-graft war. Again, today's newspapers are very, very well populated with adverts. I think it's a good day for newspaper men today. But what we can take from The Nation is that headline that reports that 13,000 convictions in EFCC. EFCC is speaking about 13,000 convictions. Now, when we go deeper into the story, this is as Olukayode, who's at the helm of the EFCC, is celebrating 22 years of EFCC, and what he feels are the milestones. He also feels when he came into office in 2024 that he instituted a number of reforms that have also led to tighter transparency and credibility. Benga, I believe we have to go, but in just one sentence, your thoughts on EFCC 22 years later, 13,000 convictions. How do you think they're faring?
Okay, it doesn't really sit well with me. I would say he's trying his best, but can we just invite him on Daybreak so that he can come and explain in details his account of stewardship and how he came about these 13,000 convictions and why we still have some of these influential people still moving about freely while some are behind bars and some are facing tight prosecution. It's really unclear to me. So I would like to, for me, I would not want to jump into speculation. I would want to invite, we would like to have him here live so that people could hear, we can have an interview with him, a soft chat with him so that he could explain further his account of stewardship as the nation's corruption czar.
Absolutely. I'm sure he's heard the memo loud and clear, but we're going to take a very short break now. Thank you so much for staying tuned today.